Bankruptcy. That word alone can be, well, pretty scary. But what if we told you it's not really an ending, but a fresh start? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole thing, demystify it, and give you a really clear map to understanding what it's all about.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that, honestly, it's pretty staggering. From 1991 to 2016, bankruptcy filings for seniors shot up by over 200%. I mean, think about that. And the main reason for so many of them? It was the crushing weight of medical bills. Their golden years were turning into a total financial nightmare.
And that right there is exactly why we need to flip the script on how we think about this. This isn't some kind of personal failure, not at all. It's a legal process, a tool, designed to give you a clean slate when debt just becomes completely unmanageable, especially from something as unpredictable as a medical crisis.
So it's absolutely crucial to reframe this. Bankruptcy is not a punishment. It's a powerful legal tool that's there to help you get back on your feet. It's specifically built to protect the stuff you absolutely need to build a future.
Okay, so that brings us to the big one, right? The number one fear that probably pops into everyone's head: am I gonna lose absolutely everything I own?
You know, that one question is where so much of the anxiety comes from. But here's the good news. For most people, the answer is a big, reassuring no. And the reason for that comes down to one key legal idea, something called exemptions.
So the law has these things called exemptions. And honestly, the best way to think of them is like a protective shield. They put up a legal fence around certain things you own, your assets, and basically tell creditors, nope, you can't touch this.
Let's take your house, for example. Under the federal rules, you can protect almost $28,000 of equity in your home. And equity is just the part of the house you actually own, free and clear. This is called the homestead exemption, and its whole purpose is to help you keep a roof over your head. And it's not just your house. You get to protect your car, too. The federal exemption covers up to about $4,500 in value, which for a lot of folks is more than enough to make sure they can keep the car they need to get to work, to the store, to live.
And these protections, they go even further into your personal life. You can see here there are specific limits for things like your furniture and household goods, even a separate amount for jewelry. And check this out. There's even an exemption for the tools of your trade, the stuff you need to make a living.
Now this is probably the most important protection for so many people: your retirement savings. The money you've worked your whole life to put away for the future, it's almost completely safe. We're talking 401ks, pensions, IRAs, up to a really high limit. Creditors generally can't touch them, period.
All right, so now you know what you can protect. That's a huge relief. But the next logical question is, okay, do I even qualify? We're going to focus on Chapter 7 here, because it's the most common type, the one that wipes out most of your debts completely.
So to figure that out, the system uses something called the means test. Just think of it like a financial gatekeeper. It's basically a formula to see if your income is low enough for Chapter 7. If it is, great. If not, it points you toward other options where you might repay some of what you owe. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a two-step deal. Step 1, they look at your average income for the past 6 months and compare it to the median income in your state for a family your size. If your income is lower, boom, you pass. If it's higher, don't worry, you go to Step 2. That's where you start subtracting all your allowed living expenses. If there's not a lot of disposable income left over at the end, you can still pass.
Okay, so you know you can keep your stuff, and you know you qualify. Awesome. But hang on, because there's this really critical phase you have to be super careful with: the time right before you file. This is like a minefield where people can make some really, really big mistakes. And here's why timing is everything. The court is going to take a microscope to your recent finances. They're looking for fairness. They want to make sure no one is trying to cheat the system by, say, hiding money or paying back their brother-in-law right before they file, leaving other creditors with nothing. This timeline breaks down the key look-back periods. For instance, if you take a big cash advance or go on a luxury shopping spree with a credit card right before filing, that's a huge red flag. Paying back a family member? The court looks back a full year for that. And trying to hide assets or sell your car to a friend for $1? They can look back 2 years for stuff like that.
All right, so you've made it through the process. What happens next? What does life look like after? Let's talk about some of the practical stuff, and even some surprising strategic reasons why getting that fresh start can be a really smart move. Here's a question we hear all the time, and it's a really personal one. I had to include my medical bills in the bankruptcy. Can my doctor just refuse to see me now? Especially if you have ongoing health issues, that's a scary thought. The rules on this are actually pretty clear. So here's the deal. On one hand, yes, a doctor can technically decide to stop being your regular physician because of the unpaid bill. But, and this is a big but, they have to give you reasonable notice, usually like 30 days, to find someone new. Now, on the other hand, the really critical part, they can never deny you treatment in a real medical emergency. That's the law.
Now, let's talk about a really interesting situation. Some people are what's called judgment-proof. What does that mean? It just means that all their income, maybe from Social Security, is protected, and they don't have any assets that creditors can legally grab. So if you can't be forced to pay, why would you even file for bankruptcy? It's a great question.
And this quote really nails the answer. Filing for bankruptcy when you're judgment-proof is like buying insurance for a better future. You're getting rid of that debt now, wiping the slate totally clean, so that later, when things do get better, maybe you get a great new job or inherit some money, those old debts can't just pop back up out of nowhere and weigh you down all over again.
So we'll just leave you with this to think about. What would a true financial fresh start, a real clean slate, actually mean for your peace of mind, for your future? Because when you strip away all the legal forms and the numbers, that's really what this is all about.